You need to own your local before you try to own the world. I'm Daniel Whittington, Chancellor of Wizard Academy and Whiskey Marketing School. I've been talking about this with a few distillers and friends and whiskey industry people that I know, and I thought I'd share it with you guys. I'm going to do what I always do and take all of this off because it bothers me. And already I scraped my finger. This is exactly why I take it off. Ow. I remember my first record deal. Real one, and it was real. It was a high 5-figure signing bonus, budget, I should say, that went to recording the album. They put us in a world-famous Nashville studio. If you know, it was the Elefante brothers. It was Sound Kitchen in Nashville, which I was actually recently at recording again a couple years ago. Incredible studio. They put us up in fancy hotels. They paid for fancy restaurants. They put us on tour with big bands. We were playing theater, 5,000 seat theaters and basketball stadiums and rocking the world. They told us things like, your records are going to be available in every store. You're going to be in Best Buys and Walmart and Target and Hastings. You guys remember Hastings? Man, that was a throwback. And we were like, yeah, we're going to be everywhere. We didn't realize what a terrible idea all of this was, because all we knew was we've got a record deal now. We're real. We felt big, though. We felt important. And we ran out of money. We ran out of money about 80% of the way through recording the album. We ran out of money and we had to leave the studio and record the rest of the album in our producer's apartment because he had miscalculated the budget. And it still sounded fine, but then we went on the road and we discovered something. I don't know if you know this, but most musicians make the majority of their money on an indie level off of merch sales, and that's where you eat, right? You get paid peanuts to play the show, but you make your money on t-shirts and hats and merch and memorabilia. But when you're an opening band for a big band on tour with stadiums and large venues, did you know that everyone gets their cut of your merch? So say we sold $1,000 worth of t-shirts and we were like, yes, finally, we all got paid for this show. Because your opening act is free. You don't get paid to be an opening act. You pay. Usually you pay to be an opening act because it's putting in front of you and you in front of other potential fans. And so we sold $1,000, and then our first show ever, we sold $1,000. I don't remember what it was, but it was real. And we're like, yes, we're gonna be okay. We all made a couple $100. And then there was a knock on the door, and it was the concert venue promoter rep, and they were like, hey, we're owed 10% of your merch sales. The venue takes 10% of your merch sales. So we need to see your numbers, and you need to hand us cash. So we had to give up $100 right there. And then a few minutes later, in comes the tour manager for the main headline act, and she was like, hey, we get our 10% cut of your merch. Turns out that's a thing, the headlining act taking a percentage of the opening act's merch sales as I don't know, a payment for taking you on the road, I guess. Good Lord. So now we're down $200, and now we're down to $800 split between 4 dudes. That's supposed to represent multiple days and a couple thousand miles of driving and eating and then hotel rooms. Uh-oh. And then we repeat that night after night after night, right? No one told us any of these things. Why? Because we were so set on touring Canada, touring America, touring Europe, having our records in all the stores. And then another moment came in when we discovered that, yes, our records were in all those stores. And they did print 50,000 copies of our album, and it was in Target and Walmart and Barnes & Noble, and that was cool until no one bought it because no one had any idea who we were. And within months, we passed the buy cycle of all the retailers, and they shipped it all back. And now we owed the record label for 50,000 unsold records. And I don't remember what the actual number was. These are made-up numbers, but it was real money. And immediately we discovered, okay, We owe back the money that they paid for us to record, and hotels and food. We owe back the money they paid to put us on tour, and we owe back all the money they used to print records. Well, can we at least have those records so we can sell them on our own tour? We had to buy them. We had to buy the records off of the record label so that we had records to sell at our merch table, so that we had some shot at making money. Absolute chaos and waste, right? Now, why am I bringing that up? And by the way, I do have like amazing memories from that time mixed in with the memories. It was not all bad, but there's a very brutal reality to these middle class trying to break through band scenarios. And I'm going to tell you why it matters and why it's related to whiskey here in just a second. Let's drink Yamazaki 12. Yamazaki is the original whiskey brand, really. It wasn't really called Yamazaki at first, but Suntory was the original distillery, the first whiskey distillery in Japan. Early 1900s, pre-World War II, post-World War I. And what became Yamazaki, I would argue, and this is not fact, this is my opinion from studying history. The Yamazaki that we get is the correction, the first whiskey they made, if I remember correct, it was Shirafuda was the first whiskey that they made, and it was based on Masataka Takatsuru's studying at Springbank and Longmorn and a handful of other Scottish distilleries. He came back to Japan, and they made this really hefty, weighty Scottish-style malt, and it did not go over well in Japan because lighter palate, different flavor profiles, different preferences. And so they pivoted and made a lighter, more approachable, gentle whiskey, and that was the precursor to what became what you would drink as Yamazaki 12. And they went through a whole lot of things over the years, but they were plugging away, making great whiskey. And then one day, Jim Murray put them in his Bible and named them the best whiskey in the world. And it wasn't this Yamazaki 12. It was a single cask of Yamazaki 12 that won. But it's just a really great whiskey in general. It is, if I had to pick, it's a very gentle, space-sidey approach to this. It's actually, picking this up right now and smelling it, it reminds me more of Cardew or Deanston than any other Japanese whiskey that I've ever had. That dense mix of garden perfume honeysuckle, like Deanston has, that sort of soapy, waxy, that sort of waxed apple note, waxed honeysuckle, that's really strong in here. And then that sort of dark caramel that Cardew has, that deep butterscotch kind of note. There's a lot of floral, a lot of fruit. It's a beautiful nose. These they put in ex-bourbon cask Mizunara, which is a Japanese oak, and sherry cask. And you really smell the bourbon most. You smell a hint of sherry, and I mean, it's hard to put your finger on what Mizunara is bringing to the table, but it's going to be closer to a French oak than it is to an American oak. Okay. Oh man, on the palate. Peaches, honey drizzled peaches and cream, flower garden, soft kind of mulchy wax, slight berries. Beautiful. It's just it's priced through the freaking nose these days, but it's just a beautiful whiskey, and there's a reason. Like, for all of the people or distilleries in Japan that were just kind of screwing around and lying about Japanese whiskey and just getting out with a Japanese label, the Yamazaki line has really stayed pretty true to itself and what it was trying to accomplish from the beginning, this beautiful, delicate, really lovely single malt. It deserves all of its honors. Okay. I'm going to add a little water just because. It's at 43%. Why did I bring up all the band touring and the... Because I find the exact same problem with whiskey distilleries and craft. You get these craft guys, they start to grow, and I talked about it before, this idea that you're not doing things right until you do big boy things, and that's what makes you real. And it's sort of in the same family, but it has more to do with enthusiasm and growth than big boy marketing. And what I mean is, All right, you have a bar, you have a distillery, you start making some whiskey, you start hitting the turf. Yeah, let's get out there, let's meet people. You meet with distributors. They promise you, oh, if you sign with us, your whiskey will be available in every retailer nationwide. Sound familiar? Oh, if you sign with us, we can get you into all the expensive bars. So then you start hitting up bars. You start going to on-premise consumption locations, bars and restaurants. And you go to the nicest bar in Austin, and you're like, I want to convince you to carry my bottle. And somehow they're having a good day. Maybe you got them drinking. They like you. You went to the same college. They're like, you know what? Screw it. We're bringing in your bourbon. And they do. And then you see that as, go team, we succeeded. We're in these famous bars, and we're in these famous, and this big boy distributor is working with us. But here's the problem. You didn't do any of the work to build the following, to build the fan base, to grow the desire for your product. You did it backwards. You got yourself everywhere and then hoped that that would somehow solve the problem of no one knowing about you. But that's not how it works. And what ends up happening very quickly is the distributor didn't spend any time on you because you're so small in their sales numbers that none of the reps promote your product. They'll drop stuff off at a Total Wine and it'll sit in a back room for 3 weeks. No one will even put it on a shelf until you finally visit that retailer and you realize your product's not there and someone finds it in a box in the back room because no one asked for it. And then you go to that fancy bar and the bottle they brought in is still there and it's never been opened and it's dusty and it's behind 5 other bottles because no one asked for it. And no one's excited about it. And they don't do a reorder and they don't want to talk to you anymore because now they're sitting on this bottle and it's going to end up in a budget drink because they got to move it. Or your bottles are going to end up in a budget retail bin because the retailer needs to get rid of it and they can't sell it back to you, unlike the record industry. You got your building blocks out of order. You built a giant second floor on a foundation. The only way to really grow is to build your stable foundation and build demand. To stay local, own the things you can touch, build relationship, build connection, build fan bases, grow your fan base, invest in your community, build demand, have those people asking so that by the time you talk to Total Wine, they've already heard of you and they've already got customers requesting your product and they call you saying, hey, all of our people keep asking for your stuff. We don't have any. How do we get it? Who are you working with? That's the right direction, right? Own local before you try to own the world. A little water makes this a little more musty and barley forward and a little less fruity and a little less floral. Oh, and the palate goes really sherry. The sherry cask Oloroso comes forward like nuts and almonds and oh my God, that's good. I hope that was helpful, and I'm really glad you're here. Cheers to you. Just a reminder, if you like reviews and discussions about how to, I don't know, make it in some sort of industry, you can like and subscribe. And also a reminder, Dry Week is coming up. It starts Friday at noon, August 29th, and ends Friday at noon, September 5th. It is voluntary. It's a palate reset. It's a chance to check in and make sure that you don't have a dependency problem. And we will see you on the other side.